We can go ahead and get started. This meeting is being recorded, and we'll spend the next couple minutes just doing general announcements.
Yep. Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Paget Pengelly. I'm the social investments rep for Xcel Energy and also the co-chair for the Emerging Leaders Committee. You all are muted as you enter, and please feel free to keep your video on so the speaker can see you. There will be time at the end to engage in questions, network a bit, and discuss your best takeaways from the presentation. We want to thank the Emerging Leader sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't be able to provide these roundtables. The presenting sponsor is Xcel Energy, premier sponsor is Wells Fargo, supporting sponsor is McGough, and media sponsor is the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal. During the event today, please engage with us on social media at Minneapolis Chamber and use the hashtag MPLS Emerging Leaders. And then before we start the presentation, we want to let you all know about our roundtable discussion next month, focusing on the city impact of hosting the Women's Final Four. It's on Friday, March 18th. Please mark your calendars and look for an email soon from the Chamber with more details. Now I'll hand it over to Zach for Chamber announcements.
Thanks, Paget. My name is Zach Kramer. I'm the Leadership Programs Manager with the Minneapolis Chamber. And I want to invite everyone to join us for a very informative and inspiring, entertaining take on this year's Chamber's annual meeting, which is coming up March 8th. During the program, we'll feature elected officials, local civic and business leaders, musicians, comedic talents, top 10 lists, carpool karaoke, and more. So if you're interested in this awesome upcoming event for the Chamber, please be sure to register at minneapolischamber.com/annual meeting 2022. Should be a great event. I'd also like to give a shout out to one of our committee members, Ashley Grossman, who is a digital marketing manager for Hennepin Theatre Trust. Ashley has dedicated her career to fostering impassioned stewards of our community. And at Hennepin Theatre Trust, she leads a team of digital marketing professionals to share stories about the many ways they are creating impact in the Hennepin Theatre District and greater Minnesota. Ashley invited today's speaker, Angela Two Stars, to showcase how the arts are creating positive change in our community. And unfortunately, Ashley couldn't be with us today, but we thank her for all her help with the Emerging Leaders Committee. And with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Angela Two Stars, who is a public artist and curator. Angela is the director of All My Relations Arts, a contemporary Native American art gallery and arts program that works to highlight the strength and visibility of contemporary Native American artists. It is also a project of the Native American Community Development Institute in Minneapolis. Angela's professional arts career began with All My Relations Arts Gallery as a exhibiting artist, which then led to future opportunities to include her first curating role for the expedition titled Bring Her Home, Stolen Daughters of Turtle Island, a powerful exhibition highlighting the ongoing epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Angela's public art graces the shores of Bede-Makaska and shares the Dakota language through visibility accessibility. Her most recent public art commission is installed at the Minneapolis Sculpture Garden as an acquisition of the Walker Art Center. And Angela's public arts artworks are also included in commissions of the City of Minneapolis, the St. Paul Port Authority through a project with Forecast Public Art, and the Ordway Center for Performing Arts. And with that, I'll hand it over to Angela.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I see Mary Jane has joined us. Hi, Mary Jane. I should have her be like a joint presenter for this project. Let's see, I will share my screen to talk about this really exciting work that we've been doing in partnership with Hennepin Theatre Trust. Let's see, I gotta share my screen here. So thank you for inviting me. Here we are. So this is fun. So we partnered with Hennepin Theatre Trust on a collaboration that is called We Are Still Here. It is an Indigenous digital artists cohort. It is a multi-year collaboration, and All My Relations has been the curators of the artists that were invited to participate in this learning project and digital/public art project with Hennepin Theatre Trust. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I went too far. I'm too excited, going too fast on a Friday morning. So this is about, the NACDI, the Native American Community Development Institute, and All My Relations Arts. So as we shared, All My Relations Arts works to uplift and highlight the strength of contemporary Native American artists, and we do that through 4 to 5 yearly exhibitions. We just opened our latest exhibition last night, so I encourage you all to go visit the All My Relations Arts Gallery on 1414 Franklin Avenue to see Stephen Primo's Avenues of Creation. It's a really incredible exhibition, and you can get some coffee right next door from the Powell Grounds Coffee Shop. I'm not going to read all the bios on our different entities here involved. To share the presentation if you want to hear about them, but we were approached by Hennepin Theatre Trust on this project to increase the digital artists, Native American artists that are working in a digital realm and also in a public art realm, with these utilizing digital art into billboard designs through that are highlighted on Hennepin Avenue. And I'm sorry, I might need some help on who it's through. I'm spacing on their name. I'll get it, and then Mary Jane can share too, because she's here.
I have to unmute. You got me talking. It's with Clear Channel.
Clear Channel Media. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm so glad you're here, because I totally spaced on who broadcasts the images throughout not only just Hennepin Avenue, but I see it on my drive home on the 35, and it's really fun to see these works up on such a high profile, platform. Let's see. Going the wrong way. And now I can't move. There we go. I might have to move you guys so you can see. So this is the cohort, the We Are Still Here artist cohort. We recognized that there wasn't very many Native artists that are working in a digital capacity. At the time, I knew of 2 in the city. One is Jonathan Thunder, and the other one is Marlena Miles, which I'm sure people are familiar with. And if you're not, please check them out. The We Are Still Here cohort recenters Native voices and stories in downtown Minneapolis through artists working with digital and analog media. We committed with Hennepin Theatre Trust to a multi-year partnership to weave Native culture into Hennepin Avenue with temporary and permanent art that engages a Native and non-Native audience. And the project goals of the We Are Still Here cohort was to amplify the voices and the presence of the First People of Minnesota in the life, culture, art, and activation of Hennepin Avenue, to encourage and uplift Native voices, highlight Native truth-telling, and change the narrative of Minnesota Indigenous peoples, while also broadening and promoting the awareness of Native people as active and relevant in contemporary times. So we selected 3 artists, Ray Janice, Sheldon Starr, and Missy Whiteman, to be the artists in the cohort, and to support their learning and growing. We contracted Jonathan Thunder to be a mentor, and he shared his knowledge with working in digital media through ongoing training with the cohort. over the course of the year and a half that we've been working on this project. So a little bit about the artists. My buttons don't work. So this is Jonathan Thunder. He is extremely talented Red Lake Ojibwe artist, multidisciplinary. He's known for his surreal paintings, animations, experimental films, installation, and illustration work. He's attended the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, studying visual effects and motion graphics at the Art Institute International in Minneapolis. And his work is featured in state, regional, national exhibitions, as well as local and international publications since 2003. And he is a 2020 Pollock Krasner Foundation grantee. Jonathan has just been a stellar mentor for these artists, and his knowledge base and his willingness and openness to share that knowledge with these three mentee artists has been, you know, instrumental in their development and their learning and understanding, and also just a relationship that he's developed with them for them to connect with him, you know, outside of our meetings that we host like as a team. But, you know, it's just been really incredible to have him be a mentor in this group. He's just a overall great guy. His art is incredible. And it's really interesting to show how he shares his information when he would do his trainings with our group. It's just mind-blowing how he incorporates Native identity in animations he does and the style that he shares in his work. So it's just been really a pleasure to have him mentoring our artists. And then my next slides is a little bit about the artists themselves. This is Sheldon Starr. He works in abstract painting and graphic design. He recently graduated from the Oglala Lakota College in South Dakota with a degree in graphic design, graphic arts, I'm sorry. And so he uses his graphic design experience in freelance and commission-based fields, making custom graphics, logos, texts for clients. He's also a comedian. So he's been working in stand-up performances, and his work that he's shown in the We Are Still Here cohort has been connecting that humor along with some of the tough narratives in terms of like history of Native people in the designs that he's created, which I'll show you here shortly. And this is Missy Whiteman. She's Emmy nominated writer, director, producer, multimedia artist. She has just been a phenomenal addition to the group. She's really challenges herself in pushing her digital designs and the content that she's sharing through her artwork. You know, obviously you see from her bio, she's just been involved in so many projects at the Walker Art Center, National Geographic All Roads Festiva, and she was a recipient from the McKnight Fellowship for Media Arts, a Forecast Public Art Mid-Career Grant, Sundance Native Lab Fellowship, and a Jerome Fellowship for her short film project called The Coyote Way, Going Back Home. And her focus coming into this project was to advance her knowledge and understanding of expanded cinema and how she uses that in her work as an already established, you know, phenomenal working artist already. So it was great to see she came into this program with expectations of how to expand what she's already doing and how she can challenge herself in the work that she's already making, and using this fellowship, this cohort, as a way to continue to grow and develop in her craft. So it's just been wonderful to have her on board in this cohort. And then last is Ray Janice, who goes by Ray Rockboy. He's an enrolled member of the Oglala Lakota tribe on the Pine Ridge Reservation, and he grew up in the Medicine District, also known as Kyle, South Dakota, which I do believe is now changing their name. At our last meeting, he shared with us that they're changing the name of the city of Kyle, South Dakota. But I'm spacing on what its original name it's being returned to its original name. So Ray is very emerging. He's self-taught in graphic design, and he is, I believe, still currently pursuing his degree from the Oglala Lakota College in graphic design, but he incorporates and is influenced by his Lakota heritage and Western society, blending the two cultures and letting his art develop. It's been great to see his really learning the ropes of this program, considering he's a new kind of a fresh student out of graphic design from college. And we got to have all three of these artists join us along with the mentor Jonathan in the Twin Cities last summer to visit Hennepin Avenue, to kind of see the billboards where their work has been displayed. And also these guys have been meeting almost every week with some occasional breaks. And that was one of the things that is one of the benefits of this project, is just the relationships that have developed between these three artists and Jonathan, and All My Relations Arts and Hennepin Theatre Trust. There's a lot of sharing in the meetings, just as knowledge sharing, as working artists in the field. So it's been a really helpful, encouraging, close-knit cohort that's been developed that's beyond the work that they're creating. So it's more not just a final deliverable project, but also relationships, and those continue, you know, beyond this cohort. And having a mentor, you know, that continues even when you're done with your projects, and having fellow artists, it's so helpful, like in the art world, I think, as we all know, like how much those relationships, how important those are. So these are some examples of the work that Jonathan created at the very beginning of the cohort. And he was using these images, these billboards, designs, and training the cohort artists how to incorporate their digital images into this digital media that would then be projected on these large scale billboard designs on Hennepin Avenue. This is Minnesota Makoche. The next one, he did a series of these as his first launch, and worked with the cohort to explain the process of adding the banner, having the right dimensions and so on and so forth for how to finalize these designs for the client, which was, you know, NACDI and Hennepin Theatre Trust, and the specifications, you know, for Clear Channel Media. And so he shared these with the cohort at the beginning as examples as part of their training. And these were rotated throughout the billboards on Hennepin Avenue and throughout the city. This one's called The Return. And so he also did animation designs on some of these. Like this one was actually a moving animation on select billboards. I think there was like 2. So I wanted to go in and share some of the work from the artists themselves that they created through the cohort. This one is called Bazil from Ray Janice. He was highlighting a friend of his who is a hip hop artist named Talon Duchesneau, or Bazil is his performing name. And he is, you know, hip hop artist, speaks on the issues of race and culture in South Dakota. And what I really appreciated about Ray's inclusion of, you know, of this performer is the contemporary component of showing Indigenous presence today as opposed to historically, which is how we typically are referred to as from a historic manner. And so to highlight individuals working and performing today, I thought was really very significant to the purpose and goals of this project. And it's also promoting his friend, which, you know, check him out on, I believe, Spotify. This one is Sheldon Starr called Mass Execution US Champ. I thought this was a very powerful image and design that Sheldon created, and it really created an opportunity for dialogue and in the different audiences that receive this work, and challenging the narrative about the legacy of Abraham Lincoln to the American, culture, and his legacy in regards to Native American experience, which in our case, Abraham Lincoln was the president who signed the order for the hanging that occurred in Mankato in 1862. So it was really powerful design that Sheldon created. It really invoked like conversations and dialogue about how we interpret Native history, and how oftentimes Native history is left out of general US history. And Sheldon really challenged and pushed, these hard truths, which is part of this project, is that Native truth telling with this piece. And then the next piece he did, which was the Treaty of Fort Laramie, and how I was kind of basically, how do you say it? Like, well, just broken because the gold was found in the Black Hills. And so it was this treaty that's supposed to be the sovereign law of the land, even today, is disregarded once there was resources that were desired. And this continues to hold, weight in the Black Hills with the Lakota people, because they had never given up the land, and the Black Hills are a sacred place for the Lakota people. And I think the US government has tried to pay the Lakota people for the Black Hills, which they never accept. They'll never accept the money. And so these treaties that were written in 1868 still hold today, and should still be honored and abided by. And so it's part of just, history, and I guess our general understanding or lack of understanding of treaties and how they operate and exist, and should still be and are still relevant today. So I think it's interesting the way Sheldon incorporates these challenging topics into our just general knowledge base, to learn more about what he's sharing through this type of like humoristic approach. And then this is Missy Whiteman, We Will Always Be, the land, the air, the water, the stars, human. And this piece actually is an animated piece. So this is where Missy, pushed herself and challenges herself to do both still and animation in her work. And this is focusing on the history of Owamini, or St. Anthony Falls, and the map of the trading lines along the Mississippi. And what I find interesting about this work that Missy does, and also the next piece, is how she addresses sacred sites and how they're used and why they're important to the indigenous people of the land. I think for me, it's helpful to understand why these places were sacred. I shouldn't say were sacred, like are sacred. And to have that understanding helps understand like why Native people are so adamant and passionate about protecting these sacred sites. And so that's something for the audience to know of and have an understanding of these places that we live, in relation to, and how we should be, aware and understanding of the significance of these sites to Native people. The next one, the image in the background, is Bear Butte in South Dakota. This one I can't pronounce. I want to say it's Arapaho language. I'm not even going to try. But this piece is called Whirlwind. And that symbol signifies the creation and center of our world. And again, this is another example of where Missy is using sacred sites as a key for us to understand origin stories and the significant sites, sacred sites for, Native people, and for us to understand the importance of these sites to Native people. And once we understand, then we know kind of better how to be. And I think for me, this is even helpful because this is learning for me as well. I didn't grow up connected to my culture, even though I lived on a reservation. My ancestors were displaced Dakota people from the state of Minnesota. And so me returning here in 2017, I am learning all of this information that I didn't know growing up displaced on a reservation of the sacred sites here in Minnesota, like Bedote, like the Owamini. And so for these artists to be sharing of their sacred sites, their origin stories, their truth-telling initiatives in the work that they're creating, has been super helpful for even myself. And I think that just goes for the general audience, because this is the type of information that isn't shared in US history books and that we don't typically get access to. So for these artists to share their work in this manner and have it projected on these billboards throughout the Twin Cities, has been a helpful tool to increase the public's knowledge about contemporary Native American artists, Native American history, Native American culture. And it's just been a pretty awesome group to work with. And I want to thank Mary Jane and everybody at Hennepin Theatre Trust for all their support with these artists and giving them this platform and this canvas to share this artwork with everybody. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you all. I didn't have like an exit slideshow, just like mic drop at the end.
That was awesome, Angela. Thank you so much for all that info. Did you mention the documentary Bring Her Home at the beginning of your presentation?
I don't think I brought that up, but there is a documentary titled Bring Her Home that will be having its debut next month at the film festival in Billings, Montana. I forget what the festival's called, but I'm one of the subjects, and its title is from the exhibition that I curated as my first time. So yeah, that's coming out soon.
Okay, you mentioned Bring Her Home. Okay, that makes sense. Isn't it, I think it's playing on TPT soon too.
Yep.
Does anyone else have questions? You can put them in the chat, or you just hop on off mute.
Sure, I'll jump in real quick. Thank you for presenting everything. This is super informative and it's very interesting. And I was looking at the location and realized the law firm I work for, we have a partnership with the Kook Clinic, which is, I realize, it's just sort of across the street from the gallery. So next time I'll have to stop by the gallery. But my question was, what are the largest challenges for Indigenous artists as they try to break into more mainstream, or like the mainstream art scene, in terms of like access to galleries, or even being like getting the big, I don't know if we call them gigs, or, like as they're getting more and more exposure?
I think there's a lot of challenges that can exist. I know I can speak just from my personal experience of some of the challenges can be having spaces that aren't the safest for you. And sometimes, a lot of these times, like being the first, or being like the Native artist, and therefore you need to speak of regarding like all Native issues. There's a lot of education that you have to give of your culture, explanation behind like the content of the work that you've created, because it's so based on your identity and your lived knowledge of being a Native American. But to your audience, they have no clue over some of that content. And so there's like that Indian 101 explanation that you have to give. I think for this group and for other projects that we've done at NACDI, to have an organization like NACDI be able to support and encourage and advocate for the artists has been something that I think is very helpful in navigating and bridging, you know, some larger institutions and kind of the business world order of how things are to like a Native American artist coming from a reservation that is just, you know, there's some just, I guess, like cultural challenges that can occur there, and to have NACDI be a source of support and encouragement and advocate, you know, for these artists to learn and grow and understand this world. You know, say for example, like working with Hennepin Theatre Trust, the goal of this project is for these artists to not need NACDI, you know, to, you know, they take their training wheels off, they don't need Jonathan Thunder. There's going to be public art billboard opportunities that they'll be able to apply for because they've had this experience, and now they have this on their resume and they have these examples to share. I think that's been something that's super helpful. And we've been seeing a lot of other organizations doing these billboard projects, and we're like, it started here. It started when we did it first. So it's nice to be able to support the artists. You know, for me as a working like Native artist, like it is one of the I guess like one of the perks of working like with All My Relations is they do provide that supportive environment, and I'm a testament to that relationship and like treating these artists as relatives. Like I said, these meetings that we've had with this group, sometimes it's just us like talking about professional experiences we've had and challenges and how we've overcome them, and it's just this group sharing and relationship building, you know, where we are relatives, like because we are, you know, and so there's this closeness in that group that's really supportive and encouraging to have. I should share as well that there will be an exhibition coming up at Hennepin Theatre Trust that is a group exhibition of the artists, accumulation of all of the work they've done in the program, as well as their individual art that they've been creating for them to share, because some of the artists, like I believe Sheldon, for example, has never exhibited before. So it would be like his first exhibition, you know, and one of the bonuses that came out of this project, one of those growth opportunities, is Sheldon had created his own website, you know, so as a working artist, that's a huge step. And to have this knowledge from this group has been something that's helped him, you know, advance in his career as an artist. So that's really great to see those things.
When is that exhibition?
What is it?
When is it?
It is April. I could be wrong, and Mary Jane might have to correct me. I believe it's April and May, but I don't have the exact dates.
Awesome.
All right, sorry, I was trying to get to my speaker on. So the exhibition is going to be April 1st to May 13th. And after that, it's going to travel over to All My Relations gallery too. So it's kind of a two-part exhibition. And part of what we've been trying to do is kind of bridge like the gap between the downtown corridor and the Franklin corridor, where All My Relations and NACDI are housed. So we're really excited about that. And I would just kind of like to add in on the whole piece about like Native education and how, you know, we were not allowed to learn about that, right? Growing up in school. I'm not sure if that's improved much or not, but definitely like my time in school, that was not a part of our curriculum at all. So this has been a really exciting learning experience for the staff at Hennepin Theatre Trust too, because we're doing extra homework to honor the fact that we can't expect for all of these artists to educate us on Indian history and different, you know, cultures, customs, you know, difference between tribes. And it's like, there's no way each of them can know all that either, right? It's like each one is so individual. So, you know, with the billboards coming in, like, it's been really fun for us. Like, I'm on the public art team, so we'll do some research based on the topics that are coming to us from the artists and share that with the staff at Hennepin Theatre Trust. So it's really forming a nice partnership between the two organizations, which is something that's super valuable. So we're thankful to them for that.
Yeah, I will be passing that along to Hennepin Theatre Trust because you guys speak really highly about your partnership, and that's showing maybe like a very successful merging of like important work that needs to be uplifted. And then Hennepin Theatre Trust is such a downtown staple in a lot of ways. So them like being able to use their resources to collaborate with y'all. That sounds incredible. I've definitely seen those billboards, and I love the art that you shared today, Angela, and learning about the artists. So excited to dig more into that. I think we will move into our small breakout rooms now, and I know Angela has to head off, but everybody else on the call, please feel free to hang on for a second. At the end here, we typically break out into little breakout rooms to just discuss some takeaways from our speaker, and also like get to know each other if you don't know the people on your breakout room. And we can regroup after, say, 10 minutes, just for a wrap up with Zach. Otherwise, if you need to head off for your next meetings, that is understandable. But thank you again so much, Angela and Mary Jane. I hope you stay on, and if you're able, both of y'all were very informative. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day, everybody. Nice to see
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.